Chapter 1 Ocean Spaceship. That's not a ship, is the first thing that comes out of my mouth when I look through my telescope. The telescope is a relatively new addition to my biodome, once we figured out how to implement a strong enough light on it to see clearly through Irid's atmosphere. I mean, I can see the stars only a little dimmer than Earth, and I've been spending hours mapping and naming constellations and their stars for the past 2 years after I stopped dying. But stars are burning balls of light. I need my own light to break through the atmosphere. If Erid had an equivalent to birds, I'd probably be a public nuisance every time I used my telescope. Rocky's carapace sinks like he does when he's disappointed. No, no, I mean, it doesn't look like a ship. It looks like a submarine. What is word? Question. Right. I never told him about a submarine. Why would I? Didn't really come up. It's like a spaceship, but for the ocean. I explained, looking back through the telescope. But that's impossible. It's moving fast in orbit, the submarine, that is, or a very badly constructed spaceship from another planet. I can't see very well from here, but it doesn't look like it's made out of xenonite. It looks rounded, like something human made, but badly. Humans use them to explore the ocean. Why would human ocean spaceship be in space? Question. Silly human forget which direction down? Rocky skitters around in place beside me. I don't know. Do you really think there's someone in there? Leaking. Solid leaky space blob. I raise my head above the telescope and stare into the sky. I can't see things in orbit with my bare eyes, but Rocky doesn't know that, and this is more of a thinking stare. Could someone be in there? Surely not someone alive, especially not if they're from Earth, that's light years away. What if it's someone from a planet entirely different from Earth or Irid? What if we're about to discover a completely different form of alien life? Grace has thinking face structure. What Grace thinking? Question. What if someone's alive in there? I'm getting ahead of myself. This submarine could just be space trash that got trapped in orbit. Grace think human in spaceship? Question. You can tell Rocky's getting excited too. Second Grace in ocean spaceship? I don't know. Maybe. I say, rushing past Rocky to get to my side of the lab. The Iridian scientists built a lab half inside and half outside my biodome, so we can work together more effectively. It is also conveniently where we have most of the stuff for entering orbit. It'd be incredible if there were, I say, even if they're dead, which is very likely. There's definitely something in there worth studying, even just the hull. From what I can see, it looks human built, like actual submarine designs with round windows and a hull. Unlike Xenonite machines. I can tell Rocky's as excited as I am by the higher pitch he uses, like me trying not to admit it. After 6 long hours of trying and failing to catch a fast moving submarine in orbit and bring it down to the surface without boiling or crushing whoever or whatever is inside, making sure the sub wasn't toxic or radioactive was our first mission. And in doing so, Iridian scientists found it was covered entirely in what it was apparently leaking, a thick red substance. They gave it to me through the smaller airlock in the lab to look at it and figure out what it was. This was probably to stop me ogling at the sub from inside my biodome and give me something to do. It didn't take long, looking at the sample of the liquid from the sub under the microscope, that it was unmistakably blood. How is it blood? I say. I want to dig deeper. Experiment with the DNA. Blood from what? And this much? Rocky interrupts that progress by barging into his side of the lab. Grace! Exclamation! He didn't have to specify the exclamation bit because I jumped so hard I almost bashed my eye out with the microscope lens. What? Human symbol! I stand up and pull my sweater back on. There's writing? Where? I ask. English writing, probably. We haven't delved far enough into human language for Rocky to recognize anything other than English and maybe some Russian. An ocean spaceship hull, Rocky says, scurrying back outside. I follow him through my own door and return to where they placed the sub outside my biodome wall. Shining my light through the clear xenonite on the hull of the sub while Rocky sways excitedly back and forth, I see what Rocky told me was there. What looks like a serial number carved into the metal. A number from Earth. We need to get this sub in here, like, right now. Yes, yes! Human ocean spaceship in Grace atmosphere! Now, now, now! Getting the sub in the biodome was easier said than done. A group of the Iridians that worked to make my biodome in the first place had to come over to build an airlock big enough to fit the sub. It probably should have been cleaner or better planned out, especially on my part, but we were in a rush to get it inside. It may be a sub built for incredibly high pressure, but it wasn't built for Irid surface, and it's a miracle it survived this long. Looking back, maybe I got a bit ahead of myself, bringing the sub to the surface too fast and expecting it to withstand the pressure and the heat. I climb up the side of its bloody surface with a ladder to crawl on top and find the latch. I struggle with the handle and the latch for a moment before wiping the blood away with a cloth tucked in my belt before I notice. Hey, Rocky. Grace find danger? Question. I see him roll his Xenonite ball over to be in my peripheral. No danger, but it's welded shut. Danger! Danger! I'm gonna cut it open. I pull out my astrophage torch and start cutting open the weld holding the latch in place while Rocky rolls anxiously around the ground below me. Eventually, I get the hatch loose enough for it to groan open. Whatever's in there, someone did not want it getting out. Oh, I'm hit in the face with a strong smell of blood. It's bad from the outside, but it's even worse inside. I cover my nose with the collar of my shirt. Ah, that stinks. What does distance taste like? Question. Blood. Way more blood than should ever be in a submarine. I hold my breath and poke my head into the latch to look inside. Yep, exactly what it smelled like. Everything's covered in blood. Blood mean danger. Iridian blood? Human blood? Question. A mangled chair sits below me in a lightly glowing control panel in the sub. Not Iridian blood. It's definitely iron based. It couldn't be from a human. There's way too much. I shine my light deeper into the submarine. The blood isn't dried. It's all wet and shiny. Holy moly! Something's moving in there. Oh my god, it's a human. Suddenly, the whole sub shakes and sends me falling down through the hatch and landing on the bottom with a loud metal bang. And oh my god, it's wet. Everything's caked in a thick layer of fresh, dried, or coagulated blood. I cover my face in my shirt again to stop me from adding barf to the mix. I slip and slide my way to my feet, almost falling back into the blood when my hold on the mangled chair is as slippery as my footing. I hear Rocky outside the hull of the sub, making a ruckus, but I can't make out the words in his tones. Not that I give it much thought. There's another human in here, or at least someone who looks a lot like a human. Once I stand and turn to look at them again, they're gone. I should probably be wearing layers of protective gear right now, but we're far past that point. I walk deeper into the sub, slowly. There's no light in here. It's definitely human made. What I can see through the blood looks like coolant and oxygen pipes, some labeled as such in English. Almost dissolved papers and binders float in the blood pool beneath me. I would hate to have been in here in zero G. Hello? I mean to call it out, but it's more of a scared whisper. There's one place a person can hide, around the back corner of the sub that I approach. Which I hate doing. This is why I never play the horror games that were sent to space with me. Whoever you are, I'm here to help you. I don't get that sentence out much better than the hello from earlier, but oh well, at least I'm not intimidating. Once I round the corner, I don't see anything but the same dark red blood before I get slammed against the fully metal wall. These events are definitely going to leave me bruised. I have no control over the sound I make when surprised, and this one is a mix of a squeak, a yell, and a series of gasping to get the air back in my lungs while I'm pinned to the wall of a ship. Once I can breathe again, I focus on the face of a man in front of me, completely drenched in foul smelling blood, but the left side of his face protrudes with inhuman teeth, oils, and scales, that eye glowing faintly in the dark. Maybe he isn't human. How exciting. You're not real, the man says in a deep voice, but a strained one like he's been yelling for hours. Why can I touch you if you're not real? Okay, psychologically distressed, not murderous, despite being close to panicking from being jumped by a human fish person, I can work with that. I'm real. No, you're not. Okay, buddy, fine then. The human fish person pushes into me harder. It's almost like he's struggling to hold himself up just as much as me. Are you another test? Another fucking trick? You'd be a step up from that radio. I expect his other hand to come up to test that theory somehow, but it doesn't, and I realize he doesn't have his other arm. Lucky me. When I don't have anything to say, because trying to convince him I am real would probably be counterintuitive, I know I am, and he'll figure it out eventually. He starts what I think is hyperventilating. I'm a little too distracted to confirm that because I just realized his teeth jutting out from the side of his face is somehow connected to another sort of mouth thing, and I'm way more curious about that than I should be right now. I'll panic about this later. Why aren't you saying anything? I don't believe trying to convince you I'm real would make you unhand me faster, honestly. I still hear Rocky scrambling outside before a huge bang echoes through the sub, rocking it back and forth. My friend, not quite yet, takes that jump scare a little worse than I do and gets back the adrenaline he was slowly losing. After almost stumbling back, pins me back against the wall with his hand on my neck. Okay, this is worse. Why is his hand so big? His attention isn't on me, says I try to pry his hand back open. It's on the walls. Well, the outside of them, I presume. Once he looks back at me, he talks again. How did you get in here? The hatch, I say. Asking me questions with his hand on my throat isn't the most effective method of communication, but hey, at least he speaks a language I know. This would probably go way worse for me if he didn't, unless I end up with my foot in my mouth. I cut it open. He stares at me for a while, an amount of time that I would appreciate having full airflow. Are we on the surface? Have you been unconscious? I'm cut off by the entire wall that was holding us both up, falling backwards and sending both this alien man and a whole sludge of blood onto me and into my mouth as I try to take a full breath. Once I finish coughing my lungs out, I see Rocky had cut a hole in the hull to get us out, and apparently decided that part of the hull we were currently using would be the best place to do so. Rocky saved Grace! Rocky says. Rocky says, jutting out his carapace protectively. I don't feel very saved as I cough blood out of my mouth and barf into the grass beside me when it's done. The old blood tastes even worse than it smells and covers me and our guest, who is very frantically trying to get over me to find his standing, leaving me in a puddle of the hull's blood. Grace injured by second Grace. Grace bleeding? Question. Bad, bad, bad. Not bleeding. Not mine. I choke out. Standing once I sort out my respiratory system and spot the stranger only a couple steps out. He's just standing there, staring at the ground, dripping blood into the grass. Grass I only have because apparently Yao was very into gardening and had forgotten an assortment of seeds in one of his pant pockets, which has been a lifesaver for me, quite literally. Though we didn't find those until after cleaning the ship and developing the me burger. I now have grass, kale, and some wildflowers I've been cultivating. Yao's pockets are where we got any trees here too. Apple trees, luckily enough. There's some structures in Irid that you could call trees, but are nothing like Earth's. I look down at myself and decide that mess is a later problem for when I get back home and can throw these clothes away. Am I dead? I don't know how rhetorical that question is, but it sounds strained and forced. The stranger's breathing is fast and I glance at Rocky, not knowing what to do, and he looks like he shares that problem. No. I cautiously approach him. No, you're alive. No. No, you're just like the rest of them, he says, turning to me and taking a step back, startled by how close I had gotten. I'm in the bottom of that damned blood ocean, and I'm never getting out. I am a part of it now. I know that. It's just trying to keep my brain alive by feeding me dreams. I don't know who you are, but I know you're not real. He finally sends a glance to Rocky and his ball. I rub my throat where he had held me and stay a good distance away this time. Okay, okay, well, you're alive. I don't know how yet, but you are. And I'm real, and I need you to calm down. He does. Calm down, in a way. He sinks on himself and falls to his knees in the grass. His adrenaline must be wearing off because he stops regarding me. I approach him, stand in front of him, and put my already bloodied hand on his red shoulder. Let's get you somewhere to get cleaned up. I completely judged this situation wrong, and this leads me to be slammed back into the ground by the wrist. The stranger on top of me, holding me down by my shoulders. I fail to unpin myself, which leads to us scrambling in the grass as I try to get free from him, and he pulls me back by the ankle, making me fall flat on my chest. He crawls back up and turns me to pin me on my back again. Oh my god, he's strong. Which is weird, because this is not gravity he's used to. This time he holds my jaw and studies my face. After a moment of silent staring, it feels safe to speak. Do you mind? Your He starts to say before he collapses on top of me, Rocky standing behind him. Rocky put second Grace in Iridian sleep. Thanks, bud. I groan and push the man off of me. He's shorter than me, but larger and stronger, so I struggle to do so. I stand and fix my hair, which is really just pushing the blood-soaked strands out of my face. Let's take him to my house. He needs to get cleaned up. Grace, stupid tired. How long since last sleep? Question. It's fine. It's a perfectly amount of time since last sleep. Second grace is danger. First grace, sleep. Second grace in lab. He probably has a name, you know? Grace knows second grace name? No. Then second grace is second grace. Chapter 2. Rocky's bedside manner needs some work. Rocky and I, mostly me because he's stuck in his ball, clean our human fish guest.
It's incredibly awkward having to take off his clothes and clean him. I personally voted for waiting for him to wake up so he could do it himself, but Rocky said his sedation would last at least a day, and that's a very appealing amount of time for bacteria to infect all his wounds. In doing this uncomfortable and very necessary step of caring for this stranger, I find he isn't only missing an arm, but it has been freshly ripped off, and he's suffering from major blood loss as well as bruises, cuts, and scrapes pretty much everywhere. After getting him more stable, IV with fluids and antibiotics, wounds cleaned and bandaged, I'm able to get to the most interesting part. I am curious about what had the pure force to tear off an arm, but that's a conversation for when he's awake. His upper left half is covered in a thick ribbed skin, pinker than the rest, covered in blisters and lesions, things that look not quite like teeth protrude around his body, some not breaching the surface skin level that look uncomfortable, like teeth beneath gums. Speaking of gums, his mouth, well, mouths. Well, first off, he has two. I think his normal one and the one that covers the right side of his cheek, with its own fishy teeth coming out of it. The monster mouth, as I'm calling it, can't have a jaw or throat because his bone structure seems generally unaffected, so it shouldn't be functional. His human mouth, from what I can see, the right side of his teeth are standard human, but the left slowly grows into something more fang like, sharper canines, and further back, maybe even double rowed like a shark. I have to take a closer look when he's conscious and, with consent. I'm not doing anything that isn't 100% medically necessary until he's okay with it. That's because this isn't a human variation. This is impossible by any Earth understanding of human biology. I say while drawing a vial of blood from his arm. It shouldn't be possible. Human life on separate planet? Question? That's what I'm thinking. Human and Iridian common ancestor. Share common ancestor with second grace, possible. Second grace stay closer to fish creature. That's a good idea, but that would make him more amphibious, right? Like all of him? This is only half, and when most organisms are symmetrical, it raises more questions. I put the vials away and then bandaged the injection site. This man is cleaner than I am. Yes, I wash my face and hands and change clothes, but I feel like I need a 5 hour long shower to get the smell of guts off me. Now that one's raising less questions. Still a lot, but less. Second grace contagious disease? Question? When I only stammer half a response, Rocky stomps around his ball. Second grace contagious possibility. Grace get infection through absorbent human skin. Grace turn into fish human. Danger, danger, danger. Grace dead. Dead. Rocky feigns death by falling against the floor. It looks the same as him falling asleep. Okay, okay. I wave my arms and he stands up again. We don't know for sure it's even a disease, but now we're not rushing to get him stable. I'll shower and we'll put him in quarantine. And sleep. Grace, stupid, tired, almost turned into fish human. Rocky stomps. Okay, okay. And sleep. I'll have a nap. Good. Rocky put Simon in Grace quarantine. I'm in my shower way longer than I want to be, but it takes forever to wash the blood out of my hair. Once I do, the bathroom is all full of steam. This is one of the many times I'm thankful for everyone building and developing new things and technology to simulate Earth life for me. I get warm, running, filtered water in my bathroom and kitchen, which has been a game changer. We make replacement parts for the computers and technology and make sure our laptop of all Earth's knowledge has at least two backups of storage. I normally use it for video games, but it's been proving way more helpful to our scientists. I leave the bathroom in my towel and grab an apple to eat while I dry off. I eat a lot of apples these days. It doesn't taste as good as an earth apple. Everything grown on Earth is going to have some more metallic properties to them because of how we need to modify them for the soil, but I really don't mind. I slide my laptop across the kitchen counter and start writing everything so far about our guest. I'm supposed to be sleeping, but I know I won't be able to with all this info going through my head and trying not to forget about it, so I spend a couple more hours sorting that out. I spend 4 hours sitting in nothing but a towel in my kitchen writing about observations, ideas, hypotheses, and tests we need to do, what we need to look for in those tests, and how we should go about them. I need to get a better sample of the blood from the ship from surface level observation. It is blood with DNA and red blood cells. I don't remember finding any white blood cells, but I must have missed them. Maybe there's a place I can extract a less contaminated sample from the ship, some sealed away crevice in the metal, or maybe somewhere in the pipes, or on the outside where it couldn't be mixed with any blood or barf from its occupant. I have so many questions for when he wakes up, where he came from, how he got here, what's his name. Was he always like this, or is this whole half fish thing new? I rise my hands off the keyboard and take a breath. I'm getting too excited and way ahead of myself. I know I need sleep, but Pulling a clean sweater over my shoulders, I turn the corner of my house to head towards the lab, and I almost don't notice the figure standing between me and it. Our guest, standing still in the grass, staring my way. Not at me, past me, into a bunch of small trees in front of him. I can't tell if he's on the verge of fainting from blood loss or crying. Probably both. If I was him, it'd be both. I approach him and adjust my glasses back on my face to see him wipe his face with his hand in a very I haven't cried in a long time kind of way. He's wearing the medical clothing we left him in and bleeding from the IV port he most definitely ripped out a few moments ago. Second Grace broke containment, quarantined, contaminated, Rocky yells as he rolls over to him, and I think accidentally hits into the back of his knees, causing him to topple backwards over Rocky's ball. Rocky, I call, half jogging my way over. Before I get there, I guess scrambles back to his feet and sprints away from Rocky, yelling things like, "Why are you chasing me?" And "Are you actually saying anything? Why the fuck am I being chased by a musical rock in a hamster ball? I'm supposed to be dead." And I just stand where they were a second ago, arms limp by my side with no emotion but tired acceptance, watching as Rocky chases him, occasionally tripping him with his ball, saying things like, "Second Grace has breached containment, danger, danger, danger," and some other words he's refused to translate previously. I rub my eyes. After no doubt he gets tired, I guess just doesn't get up after the last trippage, which was his own fault because he was trying to fake out Rocky, which I've learned just doesn't work right, and lays there and Rocky stands above his head. Once I get over there and lean over to see his face, he's awake, but paying Rocky no mind. He opens his eyes once my shadow rests over him and stares at me. "Is this your rock?" he asks in a less strained voice than before. "Grace Rock," Rocky protests. "Rocky is own rock." He considers this for a moment, then adds quietly, "Adrian Rock." I snort a laugh. He has no idea what you're saying. "Are you talking to it?" our guest asks. "Grace talk Rocky every day. Rocky say good smart things." "Yep," I say, tilting my head. "Can we move this conversation back to the lab so you don't bleed out from your median cubital vein, please?" He lets out a coarse laugh. Does this guy know how to laugh? And closes his eyes. Chapter 3: Science and Untrained Medical Treatment. He doesn't say anything as he watches me restick him for the IV, and I try to act like I've done this 1,000 times. Armando would normally be doing this kind of thing, but while stitching his arm, it freaked out our guest too much and he tried to fight it. And I don't want to have to repair medical arms I had no part in creating. Now I can get a good look at him, awake, not covered in blood or attacking me. He looks tired. He's got long, wavy, black hair down to his shoulders, a tattoo on his neck with an old burn scar over it, and from what I can tell, I think he's mixed Korean and Caucasian, which I'm pretty sure means he's from Earth, but I'm not an expert on how race would evolve in near identical planets to Earth, or if said planet could have the equivalent of Korea or Europe. And I'm getting ahead of myself and hypothesizing random stuff when I just need to find a normal ish time to ask about it. How do you ask that? "Hey, I know you're human, but are you from Earth or from a very similar planet to Earth?" I'd sound stupid if he was from Earth, and make no sense if he wasn't. Maybe I can just wait for him to reference common Earth pop culture like Spider-Man or something. "You got quite a bit of energy for how we found you," I say, taping over the IV site. When I look back up at him, he's staring at my face. Looks like he has been for a while, and he carries no shame for it. I have so many questions. His name, what he's gone through, how he got here, why he's half fish, what the blood is from. I clear my throat and busy myself awkwardly. I don't want to push him, especially if he's coming to terms with where he is. "Why are you wearing that?" he speaks quietly. "Oh, yeah, sorry." Rocky insisted. We don't know if you're contagious or not." The look on his face and my own common sense made me realize not quite fast enough that was a very strange, possibly offensive thing to say. This is what I mean by putting my foot in my mouth. I don't mean, we don't know if you're, he follows my eye line to his arm and narrows his eyes at me. "You don't know if getting your arm ripped off is contagious?" He raises an eyebrow as I stammer in response. "That's a joke. I don't know any more about the scale shit than you do." He groans and slides down in the medical bed more. When we were making the lab, I said we probably wouldn't need a medical wing for it, because what in my biodome can injure me so bad I need a makeshift hospital rather than just my house. But Rocky insisted it was a good idea just in case, and whether it was me or the stranger in the bed, I'm thankful we have it. We also needed a place to put Armando. Well, we'll figure it out. Oh, and I completely forgot to introduce myself. You can call me. No, he raises his hand and shakes his head. "Don't tell me your name. Not yet." Not before I'm sure. Before you're sure, I ask. He looks like he's about to answer my question before suddenly moving to barf over the side of the bed onto the ground. Oh, I look away, containing my own gag reflex. Yeah, okay, let's deal with your health before we do that. Eh, it's just the radiation, he says, wiping off his mouth with a paper towel I handed him before he could use the back of his hand. What do you mean, radiation? From space? Space. He stares at me confused. No, from the camera. The camera, I ask. On the sub. I turn to type quickly in the laptop attached to Armando so I can start putting together a treatment for severe radiation poisoning. Persian blue, potassium iodide, and Neupogen as viable treatment options comes up on the screen, so that must mean we have it or had it on the Hail Mary. Strat being Strat would have had radiation poisoning treatment saved up for the crew. The radiation won't be dangerous for me if any is coming off him, considering he's clean, but I definitely shouldn't have been in that sub at all. Luckily, I had a shower right after, and I'll have to check the sub for radiation as soon as I can to access possible treatment I may need, as well as warning the people who worked on the sub of its levels. That will freak them out because of the Tau Centi crew, but this would be nothing compared to what killed them in space and very treatable. Are there any hidden ailments you know of? Are you in pain? He looks at me like I'm stupid. I am, of course, he's in pain. He's got a freshly ripped off arm. I mean, your skin. Like a sunburn, I clarify, typing in the laptop beside me to get info on further radiation care. Healthcare isn't my strong suit, but I'm really hoping he doesn't need a blood transfusion. Even if we have compatible blood types, it would take too long for me to be able to donate enough to him in time. I don't know, he says tiredly. Everything hurts. The whole scaly side does. Might be that. Were you coughing up blood? There's that stare again. The one that says think harder about that question. I've known him a couple hours and I've already gotten that one a couple times. Kind of hard to tell while drowning in a sub filled with blood. Right. I should come up with a name for him. I'm tired of calling him our guest. It should be something friendlier like Stevie or Mark. But if I do that, then he'll be Stevie or Mark in my head forever. And if neither of those are his real name, I may slip up. And that's an awkward situation I would like to avoid. Well, let me know if you do. And I know you don't like Armando. It has a name. Of course it has a name. And I needed to take care of you. And I promise it won't go evil and hurt you or anything. I deliver it like a joke, but he stares at me with full sincerity. It needs to treat you for radiation poisoning, and I'm not a medical professional. I hand him a cup with some small pills in it and another with water, pain meds. He just stares at me. I shake the cup a little to say, "Hey, take this. I'm handing this to you." And he does. I definitely gave him too much to process at once. At least he knows what radiation is and would realize there's treatments for it, so it should make sense to him. I know this is a lot, and I may not be a medical professional, but I am a scientist, and I don't know how long you've been going with this level of radiation, but we need to treat it as fast as we can. I'm not amazing with bedside manner, but I'm better than Rocky, who, now that I think about it, actually should have been back by now. Once I get our guests settled, and I'm pretty sure just asleep again, and Armando on a treatment plan for him, I head out to the sub with a radiation detector. Rocky sees me on the way over and rolls up to me away from the group of Viridians working on the sub. What Grace doing? Question. Rocky, could you get everyone a good distance away from the sub? Yes. Why? Question. His carapace is up, alert at my request. Second Grace contagious? Question. Kind of. He has radiation poisoning, and I need to check the sub for radiation levels. Radiation? Bad, he says. His carapace is sinking. Tell everyone about radiation. Right next to the sub, the radiation detector beeps. Luckily, not radiated enough to be an immediate problem, more like a couple days of sleeping inside the thing problem. What sound? Question. Rocky asks, appearing behind me. You'd think a rocky alien in a hamster ball wouldn't be able to move so quietly, but he does. Grace not read detector aloud. What sound mean? Question. It means it's definitely radioactive. Not enough to severely harm me for a while, but we should check up on you and everyone else who was working on it because you handle radiation differently than I do. Friends in danger? Question. Like crew? Question. His carapace sinks at the memory. No, not like crew. This is way less. Rocky does his equivalent of a sigh of relief and stomps his feet. How fix radiation? How make ocean spaceship safe? Question. He rolls a bit away from the sub and I follow him. I don't need to give either of us radiation poisoning on top of everything. We should put the sub somewhere on Irid away from everyone, and eventually the radiation will bugger off. Yes, keep Irid safe from radiation. Rocky stomps around before he gets another thought. Second Grace, contagious, radioactive question? No. Well, his cells are damaged by the radiation, but he isn't going to release any because he's clean, so it's safe for both of us to be around him. Will Second Grace die? Question. I wasn't prepared for that one. He should have from any one of his ailments already. The amount of radiation he must have experienced should have melted his skin from the inside out, not to mention the mass blood loss from his untreated arm. It's honestly hard to imagine everything he went through to get here. He's in really bad shape, and I don't want him to die. I don't know. I choose to be honest instead of blindly positive, and I realize why I don't choose that option much, because it could suck like now. We need to learn more about his condition and his mutations and if they're helping or hurting him. Rocky and Grace do science on Second Grace. Make Second Grace live, he says, taking up the blind positivity for me. I start with blood tests, finding out what he needs, if he has enough white blood cells, which of course he doesn't. That would be helpful. And that can't be right, I say to myself. What Grace science finding? Question? Rocky asks, while working on a prototype for a dome with a controlled ventilation system to cover the sub. We've moved the sub far away from any Iridian that can get hurt by it, but wanted to do everything to prevent pollution because we don't actually know how much radiation Iridians can withstand when none gets through their atmosphere at all. His blood alcohol levels are through the roof. Chapter 4. Simon. The cracking of a radio above me. Convict! Convict! Talk to me! Fuck off. I mumble, though it comes out a slur of sounds. It takes way too much effort to open my eyes. My vision is blurry and strange in a way I can't place. My limbs feel like stones strapped to my body. How long was I asleep for? I need to get the sub going. I focus my eyes on a small flickering light, the one attached to the sub's box radio in the corner of this clean white room. After a moment of staring, my eyes wander around the room. Clean white bandages and drawers of supplies filled with radio static. I'm in a bed, in clothing I don't recognize. I squint at the door that slides open slowly. Chattering I can't make out is somewhere outside. A wet, slopping noise comes with it, dragging limbs and flesh into the room, staining the pale floors with red to reveal a figure drooping in blood emerging from the doorframe. Its eyes lock on me. Thick flesh on its face, clammy from moisture and salt and iron, covered in boils and teeth. I move to slide off the bed to find my wrist strapped down to the side. Fuck. The force I set up knocks a plastic mask off my face. The blood creature continues to approach me, its face morphing more into teeth and mouth, blood and spit falling from its maw. I kick something off my bed, clattering to the ground, and barf over the side. The taste of bile and blood adds to the shaking of my body. Through coughing and gasps of air, the monster approaching speaks to me. Hey, are you okay? It's almost a whisper. A soft, calm voice. It's not the monster. It's that man with the short blonde mullet, blue eyes covered with golden glasses, pale skin that gets rosy by his cheeks, and specifically not covered in boils, blood, and teeth. He looks like the sun, if I ever felt it on my skin, the daybreak. You're safe, he reassures. I glance back at the corner where the radio sits blinking, voices coming through I can't hear. Where am I? I don't understand. Fear grows in my stomach, a heavy emotional fear that clogs the base of my throat. The kind of fear I haven't felt in a while, the kind that only exists when there's hope of surviving. That's kind of a lot to explain right now. You've been, the sun explains. I yank the cuff on my wrist, straining the fabric against my skin. Where the fuck am I? I snap, and when I pause to breathe, I watch him blink away his own weariness. He fidgets with his hands while he watches me settle. You've woken up disoriented a couple times over the past few days since we found you. You're hallucinating, and the cuff is only there to keep you from ripping out your IV. He drops his hands and approaches me when he concludes I've calmed down. You're safe with us. I promise. I'm sorry. I don't, I don't, I take a moment to collect myself, guilt filling my chest in the agonizing way it does. I nod my head to the corner where the radio sits buzzing. Why is the radio here then? After glancing at it, the scientist gives me a look that tells me there's no radio there at all. Okay, I say. What exactly is wrong with me? Think you're gonna stay awake for that? When I nod, he pulls up a chair and sits beside the bed. After leaning over my lap to undo the cuff on my wrist, he pulls both his legs up to crisscross on the stool. Well, for one, your cells are mutating. We haven't figured out how. It doesn't seem to be cancerous, which is lucky considering the radiation, but this mutation is keeping you alive in a way. I think it's making resistant tissue to protect your organs. You've been asleep, but you've been giving us some information to go off of in between, but he pushes his glasses up on his face. He's talking fast, like all this information has just been sitting in his head. You're doing surprisingly well, and I need to ask, did you drink anything? Huh? I ask, resting my hand in my lap. Other than blood? Other than blood. Alcohol, he says. Oh, fuck. What does that mean? Daybreak's demeanor relaxes back into the lazy humor I've grown used to in my unconsciousness. The musical rock in a hamster ball rolls into the room, knocking over a broom that was leaning on the doorframe. It chirps in response and settles beside the scientist, chirping away at him. He nods along to the strange layered notes and starts suggesting some science shit to try. I don't understand what they're talking about. Uh, rubbing alcohol, I think. You drank isopropyl alcohol? He clarifies, leaning his head towards me. I was going to die, okay? The stone robot chirps at me in a larger arrays of tone. Rocky, take it easy. He knows that. You actually understand what it's saying. Oh, yeah, it's not super hard to get a handle on Iridian. I'll show you the charts. That actually would be a great way to check how your brain is working. Right. Oh, but back on track. We've been working to treat you for radiation poisoning, alcohol poisoning, and the damage done to your lungs and blood loss. And that's why I feel like shit. Yeah, probably. He fidgets with his hands again and listens to the rock's chirps. Oh, yeah. The Iridians are very skilled in organic replication now, and good news, we were actually able to get you a full blood transfusion. I couldn't donate enough to get it to you in time, but our scientists were able to make a lab replica. To fill the rest you needed faster than my body could make more. Are they like Rocky supercomputers? Oh, no, they're, well, kind of, but no. Okay, this is the a lot to explain bit. The scientist explains to me that these are iridiums from the planet Irid that we're apparently on. He tells me all about life on other planets, how they met, how Rocky's brain works, and how he has a photographic memory, how they see through sound waves, all while Rocky chirps beside him, correcting and adding info, I think. You're from Earth? Are you not? Well, yeah, I technically, I guess. But Earth is gone. Got too cold a long time ago. I was born on Eden. Where's Eden? Mars? You don't know what Eden is? Are you part of the COI? No, I was born on Earth. I was sent here to save the stars, and when I found out how, I sent word back to Earth. He explains. Earth has been dead a long time.